young students want to join the civil services, बहुत साल वेस्ट भी हो जाते हैं।
तो तीन ऑप्शन हैं। एक तो उनके ऑप्शन है जिनका कभी प्रीलिम्स ही नहीं क्लियर हुआ, तो उनको तो एक या दो अटेम्प्ट के बाद समझ जाना चाहिए कि भाई इट इज नॉट देयर कप ऑफ टी। बहुत से लोग जो सिविल सर्वेंट नहीं बने, दे हैव हैड अ वेरी गुड करियर इन पॉलिटिक्स, वेरी गुड करियर एज बिजनेसमैन, वेरी गुड करियर एज एंटरप्रेन्योर्स। जो मेंस में अपीयर करता है उसको बड़ा क्लियरली पता लग जाता है कि उसके नंबर और जो कट ऑफ है उसमें कितना गैप। If that gap is 10 marks, 20 marks, then a person must try. But if the gap is very high, then one should take a realistic assessment. ऐसा है कि बहुत लोग politicians को बहुत criticize करते हैं। ये तो I worked with CPM in Bengal, I worked with TMC, I worked with Congress, I worked with BJP. I have not found much reason to say that politicians are bad. The very logic, the very purpose of bureaucracy is that certain rules have to be followed. Let me say that the Indian bureaucracy is far better than most other bureaucracies. Take the example of the way we conduct our elections. You show me one country in the world which does a better job of elections than we do. एक तो comparison इसलिए नहीं किया जा सकता इंडिया, पाकिस्तान और चाइना का, क्योंकि हम तो एक functioning democracy है जिसने हर 5 साल में अपनी चुनाव किए हैं। One good thing about India is कि जो हमारी problems है वो तो साफ नजर आ रही है ना कि ये problems है। But अब जो चाइना का जो housing collapse हुआ, the rural banks in China have collapsed. I mean, there is the news about that. I mean, Pakistan Army is also the biggest landlord of Pakistan. It's also the biggest entrepreneur of Pakistan.
जब मेरे पे न्यूज आती है कि हमारा लैंड ऑक्यूपाई कर लिया है, मेरे को सच जानना है, सच क्या है?
सच जानना है तो बड़ा मुश्किल सवाल आप पूछे कि सच क्या है।
ट्रम्प टैरिफ्स की बात करें कि इनको टैरिफ ऑन चाइना, इंडिया, रशिया ऑन 25%.
That be the scenario, then it is China which should be worried more than we should be.
With regards to the new generation coming now, who want to join the Indian foreign services and all, want to become a diplomat at some point in time, what would your advice be to them in terms of how to prepare?
See, my suggestion would be that
क्या हाल है दोस्तों, वेलकम टू द मेंटालिटी। आज हमारे साथ बहुत ही स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं डॉक्टर संजीव चोपड़ा। ही हैज बीन एन एक्स IAS ऑफिसर, एक ब्यूरोक्रेट रह चुके हैं। ही इज बीन द डायरेक्टर ऑफ लबासना मसूरी, और उसी के साथ ही हैज बीन द फाउंडर एंड द को फाउंडर ऑफ द वैली ऑफ वर्ड्स लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल देहरादून। हमने बहुत सारी बातें करेंगे इनके साथ विद रिगार्ड्स टू जियोपॉलिटिक्स, रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन इंडिया, पाकिस्तान, चाइना के हवाले से हम काफी बातें करेंगे। होप यू view the whole podcast and see you after the podcast. Thank you, sir, for coming and taking out time from your busy schedule, sir. How are you, first of all?
I'm very happy, Yash, and I'm very glad to be sitting with you. I like coming to Talanwala. It's a nice, quiet, old part of Dehradun. You know, it sort of is reflective of the Doon as it used to be, you know. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. Wonderful to have you. Just to start off, sir, you've been in the services, you've been a civil servant, you've been an IAS, a journey of about 35 odd years or so.
36 years.
36 years.
Yeah, I've spent actually 4 years in the media before I joined the IAS. I was actually a trainee journalist in the Times of India, where you also worked.
Right.
So I joined the Times of India in 1982. 3 days before I was 21 years old. And then at 24, I joined the IAS. Worked there 36 years. And I retired 4 years ago.
Oh, how wonderful is that, sir? So, sir, why was it always a conscious decision? मतलब हम लोग काफी लोगों को देखते हैं इतने साल।
Actually, होता ये यश की जिंदगी में कोई भी डिसीजन बिल्कुल कॉन्शियस नहीं होता, और कोई भी डिसीजन बहुत सडन नहीं होता। I think there are so many factors, so many variables which are leading you to a particular path. You see, whether it is media or whether it is sitting for civil services or whether it is academics, the ground condition is that you have to be reading and you have to be intelligent and you have to be interested in public affairs, you know. So those are the ground conditions. So to that matter, a person who joins a newspaper or a person who joins the media or a person who joins the bureaucracy, I mean, the preparation level is almost the same.
Right, right.
So I was very keen on being a journalist and I enjoyed being a journalist. But after 2 or 3 years, you know, I just thought that let's take this exam as well. And more like a challenge, you know, whether one can do it. And therefore, that's how it started. I mean, even Times of India, you know, when you are in a small town, you really want to see your name in print. in a national newspaper.
Right.
So one opted to, work in the Times of India. And then one enjoyed, I mean, it's not that I was not happy in Times of India. I was quite happy. I was working for Economic Times, actually. And I've enjoyed 36 years in the service. And let me say, I'm enjoying post-retirement even more.
Right.
This is the best part of my life because I can do what I want to do
Sure.
without any pressures of deadlines,
Right.
without any pressures of, having to produce something because the government wants you to produce something. So I think retirement with a full pension is a great
And
blessing.
that's great. Nothing better than that.
Yeah.
So
And then, of course, living in Dehradun.
right.
With the same, as I keep joking with my batchmates, that I'm increasing my life as I live in Dehradun because the AQI is much better.
Much better.
Especially on the Swastadhara road where I live.
Right, sir.
And it's wonderful.
Right. So, sir, in today's time where, so many people, young students want to join the civil services, they spend years preparing for it, and it's tough. It's a tough. You have you shortlist of only a few.
See, yes, let me just. I'm sorry to intervene,
Sure.
to cut you here. You see, point is that everything is tough. I mean, joining the army is tough, joining the media is tough, joining the civil services is tough. But I think, we often say that, people are preparing for when a person is preparing for UPSC, civil services, he's also preparing for state civil services. He's also preparing for bank exams. He's also preparing for other positions. Many students, many aspirants are already working elsewhere as well. So I think it would be wrong to say that people are only focused on this. There are some students who are looking at it as the only career choice. But I think on a realistic level, now a lot of people realize that that they cannot really. It's not something that one can be reasonably sure of.
Right.
You see, because in our times, 40,000-50,000 people used to take this exam, right? And of them, 10,000 would make it to the mains,
Right.
And of those who would make it to the mains, about another 10%, another 800, 900 would get selected. So the ratios were not, ratios which one could not aspire for. So if you were reasonably bright, if you were doing well, your college teachers, your professors would tell you that, you can sit for the exam. बैठ जाओ, हो जाएगा एग्जाम, हो जाएगा IAS, नहीं तो IPS हो जाएगा, नहीं तो रेवेन्यू सर्विस हो जाएगी. उस टाइप की अब गारंटी आपको उस टाइप का एश्योरेंस कोई दे नहीं सकता because when 12 lakh people are going to sit for the prelims exam, and the number of people who will qualify the prelims will remain the same. That ratio has changed. In fact, come to think of it, ICS was the simplest. Because कितने लोग बैठते थे?
Right.
200-300 लोग बैठते थे, उनमें से 70-80 select हो जाते थे. It was much easier. So I would say that as the competition is increasing, the probability by sheer statistical paradigm, that possibility, the probability is going to become less and less and less. So it's a tough call, and I would certainly say that this should not be the only thing that you should aspire for. I mean, in fact, a lot of people already कोई इंजीनियर है, कोई डॉक्टर है, कोई प्रोफेसर है, किसी ने नेट क्वालिफाई कर लिया है. People already working, they're entrepreneurs, they're podcasters like you. So it's fine if they take the exam. It's very good.
So, sir, on just taking a cue from what you just said, when there's so many people who are appearing year after year, बहुत साल waste भी हो जाते हैं काफी लोगों के, and they can't come to terms with the fact that they haven't cleared certain exams.
ऐसा नहीं है. मैं जो आपको एक realistic assessment देते हैं, देखिए 2-3 ऑप्शंस हैं. एक तो उनके ऑप्शन है जिनका कभी प्रीलिम्स ही नहीं क्लियर हुआ, तो उनको तो 1 या 2 अटेम्प्ट के बाद समझ जाना चाहिए कि भाई इट इज नॉट देयर कप ऑफ टी. And everything is not everybody's cup of tea. I mean, if you tell me to climb the Mount Everest, I can't go. I mean, if you tell me to, to compete in a sport, I can't do it. I mean, so everybody has a certain criterion. Everybody is good in certain things. Nobody can be good in everything.
Correct.
So it's a wrong notion to think that हर आदमी हर चीज में कामयाब होगा. In fact, बहुत से लोग जो सिविल सर्वेंट नहीं बने, they have had a very good career in politics, very good career as businessmen, very good career as entrepreneurs,
As
very
an
good career academics, and very good career as film stars. So so ऐसा नहीं है that the IAS is the be all and the end all of everything.
Okay.
And it is not that because you qualify the IAS, you're qualified to do anything. So let's put it like this. तो होता ये है कि जिसने एक दो बार प्रीलिम्स का एग्जाम दिया, उसका नहीं हुआ, तो यू शुड गेट अ रीजनेबल आइडिया कि दिस इज नॉट फॉर हिम, प्रॉब्ली देयर सम अदर अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर हिम. जो मेंस में अपेयर करता है उसको बड़ा क्लियरली पता लग जाता है कि उसके नंबर और जो कट ऑफ है उसमें कितना गैप. इफ दैट गैप इज 10 marks, 20 marks, then a person must try. But if the gap is very high, then one should take a realistic assessment. Of course, it is a fact that if there has been some major incident or accident or an event just before your exam, in the sense that there's been a demise in the family, or there's been an accident or something, then you can give yourself another chance. But otherwise, ये जो कहते हैं कि हम बहुत मेहनत, people have a rough estimate of where they actually stand. अब ये भी है कि कई जगह में ये भी एक प्रेस्टीज इशू भी है ना, कि हम एग्जाम दे रहे हैं, तो it's a sort of an escape route also. Maybe it's a sort of an escape route.
Right.
But let me say that it's a tough exam. It's an exam which calls for a lot of effort, calls for a lot of hard work, and it also, the luck has to be on your side, because there's so many people who are equally good, and who don't make it.
Right, sir. Sir, on in terms of the challenges that civil servants and bureaucrats face over the number of years, आपका क्या है? What has been some of the most challenging times as a bureaucrat for you with regards to dealing with politicians? And बहुत सारे
देखो, ऐसा है कि बहुत लोग politicians को बहुत criticize करते हैं. ये तो I have worked with and I think I've been fortunate. I've worked with CPM in Bengal, I've worked with TMC,
right.
I've worked with Congress, I've worked with BJP, I've worked with their alliance partners. I have not found much reason to say or to say that politicians are bad, or that politicians don't understand your point of view. Running the government is a partnership. You got to understand what the politician's larger objective is. And if you can explain to the politician in a manner which is non-adversarial that what is good and what is bad, what is very good in the long run, the relationships can be very smooth, right?
Correct.
And I have worked with, Jyoti Boshu, Buddhadev Bhattacharya, Mamata Banerjee, N.D. Tiwari, Sharad Pawar, Vijayaraja Scindia, amongst others. And I must say that, I have not had any issues or any problems with any one of them. And they are all very different from each other. The point is, there is a way in which you have to explain your point of view. For instance, if the CM is in the middle of a press conference and he or she has made some statement which you may feel is not correct, you don't have to tell him or her at that point. You have to explain later that this is what would perhaps be better.
Right.
And let us again let me make one point very clear, that finally the decision making is a political decision.
It is a political made by the politician.
Made by the politician, and the politician meets 100,000 more people than a bureaucrat would ever meet. Right. So this is exactly what I wrote about 2 weeks ago when I was critical of Mr. Narayan Murthy's
70-hour working.
70-hour working. Apart from that, he said that, rather than UPSC, let the IAS officers come from business schools. Point is that you have to understand the context. Ab dekho, it is not rocket science. Agar महिलाओं के लिए और school students के लिए bus free होगी, तो it is not rocket science to know that the transport corporation will make a loss. But you look at it in the long view. You take a long view of things. That, whether if students have free bus travel, there'll probably be fewer motorcycles on the road. there'll probably be fewer accidents on the road. So you have to balance out everything.
Right.
In several parts of the world, in fact, all metros all over the world are subsidized. Because if metros are not subsidized, you'll have a major traffic chaos.
Correct.
So you cannot, very few metros, in fact, I doubt if any metro anywhere has been able to meet the capital, the capex and the operating costs together. It's not possible, right? So some things have to be done in public domain, in public good, and soon things become normal. जब पहली बार जब मिड डे मील स्कूल शुरू किया गया था, people were saying that how can you do, but today you realize that because of midday meal, I mean, nutrition levels have gone up, the health standards have gone up, education standards have gone up. I mean, a country a family which does not have, which cannot afford to give breakfast to the children, and let's face it, that although poverty levels have come down substantially in our country. I mean, from a country which was essentially poor, we now are a country which still has a lot of poor people. But if there is midday meal in school, it's a political decision.
Correct.
I don't see anything wrong with it. If we say there is right to work, right to food, right to education, these are political decisions. But what is the choices that a society makes? That is best left to the political leadership. Our job is to ensure that if a decision is taken, it must be implemented to its very best. If the government says that every farmer must have a Kisan credit card, that Kisan credit card must be linked to the soil health card, and that soil health card and Kisan credit card should automatically link you to the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, it is my job to ensure that this is done. And it must be done. So where is the contradiction?
Correct.
The contradictions happen when there are other agendas in mind, which if you don't have, I do not see a problem working with any political party. And I have worked with all political parties, and nobody holds this against you, because they all know that we don't choose we don't choose who's going to be the chief minister, or who's going to be the prime minister, or who's going to be the minister who you will work with, right? So you work with anybody who's there. Our job is to ensure that elections are conducted fairly. Our job is to ensure that the UPSC does a fair selection. Our job is to ensure that the Constitution is held as the supreme document in this country. And if that be so, it's fine. And different states will have different views. It's fine.
Correct. So, sir, on a policy making agenda, like there might be certain difference of opinions between a politician and a bureaucrat. So, how do you come to terms with the?
They don't have to come to terms with. Some things are so very clear. But let us understand that in electoral politics, almost all political parties end up doing the same thing.
Right. Correct.
You see, so it's one thing to say. You see, let's take the case of power subsidy in Punjab, which is killing Punjab, both in terms of finances, because Punjab has a whopping deficit budget of say 2.5 lakh crores. That's the whopping deficit which Punjab is facing. Punjab is facing an ecological crisis because of water being drawn out. But the Akali Dal and the BJP together, the Congress by itself, and the Aam Aadmi Party, none of them has been able to essentially make any change in the policy of providing power to the farmers of Punjab. And therefore, it is essentially a question, because after all, you can have a good policy, but if by talking about that good policy, you don't get elected, what is your revenue model? A political party has to be elected. So why don't we also understand the fact that unless communication, unless the political discourse reaches a level where all political parties can come and say that, look, this is what we need to do, you will have competitive populism. And that competitive populism may be good in the short run, may not be very good in the long run, because these are all choices which a country has to make.
Right.
And these are all choices which political parties have to make. But let us not forget that you're a brand specialist. Like anything else, political parties are also brands.
Right.
And they're competing with each other.
Right.
So if party A is offering SOP ABC, party B will have to offer DEF, and the party C will have to offer, PQJ or whatever. And each of them will be competing with each other. So this is the hallmark of a democracy which is evolving. So I don't find anything odd about it. It is natural.
सर, एक और चीज़ है बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट जो काफ़ी लोग जानना चाहते हैं कि जब हम बात करते हैं डिसीजन मेकिंग में, इतना मैं बुरा नहीं बोलूँगा, बट एक जो हमारी ब्यूरोक्रेसी में जो रेड टेपिज्म है, डिले इन डिसीजन मेकिंग है, वो क्यों होता है? और इज इट ओनली एन इंडियन ब्यूरोक्रेटिक फ्लॉ, या ग्लोबली
देखो
ब्यूरोक्रेसी में डिले ऑफ डिसीजन मेकिंग, रेड टेपिज्म होता है?
यश, देखो बात ये है कि the very logic, the very purpose of bureaucracy is that certain rules have to be followed, right? But having said that, let me say that the Indian bureaucracy is far better than most other bureaucracies. Take the example of the way we conduct our elections.
Right.
You show me one country in the world which does a better job of elections than we do. And remember that in elections, the purpose is that not one voter can be missed out. Not one voter can be missed out. Take the question of our census operations. Take the question of our PDS. Take the question of our Kisan credit card. Take so many things which this government has been. I'm not, when I say government, I mean all governments which the public system has been able to deliver. Now, what happens is that with the interface of technology, a lot of things are getting sorted out. And when those things get sorted out, it is the collective. It's a good partnership between the political leadership and the bureaucracy which allows this to happen.
Right.
Take the case, I'll give you a simple example. How easy it is to get your Aadhaar card now. I mean, it's you can get it done. I mean, when my father was drawing his pension, to get your life certificate, you had to go to a doctor. Now the government has changed it. You just go to your bank manager. He takes one look at you, and your pension is done. Right. So a lot of things are getting sorted out. Take the case of your, attestations. Those have been sorted out. I mean, a lot of our policies had been designed for a system in which the government did not trust its own citizen, right? But with the change of technology and with the change of governance patterns, a lot of things are now getting much sorted out. For example, you don't need to attest your photocopy now, right?
Correct.
It's taken for granted. And in years to come, when the CBSE and the ICSE and the examination results will be on the net, you will not have to submit your certificates. I mean, I look at a scenario where 5 years from now, when you go for your UPSC interviews, you will not need to carry a certificate with you. Whereas when we were going for interview, we had to carry our 10th marks result, our 12th result.
In a proper file.
And then get it attested and then leave 3 copies there, tuck. Why? And all this is now available in the public domain. So, when things change, it does not happen overnight. Things are changing, and things are changing for the better. With so many CCTV cameras, and when you talk about governance and maximum governance, minimum government, maximum governance. Let me explain it to you in a very practical sense. You see, there are 2 ways to handle traffic in a city. You can employ a policeman at every point, right? So what will happen is the number of policemen will go up. Amount of corruption may also go up because it's human nature. You replace it with a series of CCTV cameras where there's no physical presence. But today, if you overspeed, you will get a challan at your home, right? So that's governance.
Correct.
The government is becoming less. The governance is increasing. Take the case of GST. Government is decreasing, but governance is increasing. So it's true for many, many, many other things. I can give you multiple examples of how this is happening, and yet there are challenges. I mean, there's a fertilizer crisis today in the country. There is a fertilizer crisis because there's a global scenario. I mean, the traffic on Red Sea is affected, right? Global factors are there. So even if a country, look, we also live in a world which is interconnected. So it's not sufficient that you are doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing will not be sufficient. Around India, there are two Afghanistan, failed state. There was a lot of poppy cultivation that's happening there. Myanmar, where governance failures have happened. Now, if you look at it at one level, I mean, the problems in Pakistan, the problems that we face in Manipur are also the problems of having on your borders states where there is a lot of poppy cultivation, where there are failed states, right? So sometimes your own internal things can get aggravated by external factors. So you could be doing the right thing, but what do you do if somebody else is not doing the right thing, right? So it requires a lot of coordination. I was in Punjab recently, and this young SDM was telling me that every morning she's going from 9 to 11, 12 to check that, the stubble burning is lesser than it was before.
Right.
Now, stubble burning has been going on for years, right? At some point of time, the impact was no, but now stubble burning cannot be stopped just by giving an executive order. There is a cost to stubble burning. There's a cost to it, right? Now, that cost can be borne. I mean, you look at it in a public policy perspective, right? You can either spend money on equipment and on technologies, which will ensure that stubble doesn't get burned, but gets converted. Or you can spend money to improve the health systems of Delhi, you know. So it's a choice that public policy has to make. And it are
can't we have both?
You can't. You see, again, now you talk like a, you can't. It is like
no, from a perspective of a general.
Point is that you say it's like a statement which says that we must increase our allocation on health and on expenditure and this and that, and yet we should not raise taxes. No, that sort of a statement does not work. You can achieve all this only if there are taxes. You see, if you look at the budget of your country today, 48 lakh crores. You allot, 6.22 lakh crores to army. You allot, 1.75 to food subsidy, to this, to that, and that makes up. So, if you don't raise taxes, where do you get that money from? So, when we talk of public policy, we also have to talk in terms of where the resources are coming up. What can Nirmala Sitharaman do? Right. Or for that matter, anybody can do.
Right.
You need to raise resources, and when you come to raise resources, we don't want taxes to go. We want the income tax rates to come down. I mean, I do want my tax slab to go down. I don't want to pay 30%, but I don't want to pay that money. But I want the government to do more. So it's a balance, and maintaining balance is one of the most difficult things. Mushkil hota hai, but impossible nahi.
Right, sir. You just mentioned about China and Pakistan and all of that. From a policy standpoint, what India did right and what Pakistan did not in terms of sheer policy making and how they view the world and how we view the world.
ऐसा है कि एक तो कंपैरिजन इसलिए नहीं किया जा सकता इंडिया, पाकिस्तान और चाइना का, क्योंकि हम तो एक फंक्शनिंग डेमोक्रेसी है जिसने हर 5 साल में अपनी चुनाव किए हैं. And there have
term भी complete करें, हमारे complete करें.
And there have been so many, So, and we've had the privilege of several different ideological dispensations being in command of the state for several years and making a very smooth transition.
Without any coups, without any the emergencies.
So Pakistan has not had the privilege of an elected government lasting full terms.
Why do you think that is?
I think uske liye jo karan, we'll have to go back to history. The history is that, to my mind, that the Indian independence movement, यहाँ पे the sort of position which, we had a whole spectrum of leaders. So it was not just one Mahatma Gandhi. It was Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Bose, Sardar Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru, C. Rajagopalachari, Nijlingappa. You name it and I'll give you, 30, 40 names. And every year, the Congress president was also changing, right?
Correct.
So what was happening? Congress organization very strong. And when I say Congress, I am talking about that Congress, jiske andar,
the grand old party.
The grand old party, jiske andar all shades of political opinion were there. You see, that was the party which had Madan Mohan Malviya on one side, it had Acharya Narendra Dev on the other side, it had, so it had a very diverse kind of people. On the other hand, Muslim League was not a people's party. It was the party of landlords. I mean, it was
the Jagirdars
and things, and they never believed in the kind of mass politics which Congress believed in, right? And let me also tell you that Muslim League was not popular either in Punjab or in Bengal, where it actually became the areas that happened there. वहाँ पे तो unionist party strong थी. I mean, the party which was strongest in, if you look at Pakistan of that time, see, upper region में Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Frontier Gandhi, he was not Muslim League. Punjab was not Muslim League. Sindh was the only province which was Muslim League, right? And East Bengal also, it was not, East Pakistan maybe, it was Suhawardi and others. There was not really Muslim League. So the party which got into power in Pakistan was not a mass party.
It was only a Muslim party representing the Muslim. That's about it.
And that also not all the Muslims. Because if you read Ishtiaq Ahmed and some other
Yes,
people,
yes.
you see, it was not a... So unlike India, where, and India में भी आप अगर देखेंगे, तो there were only 2 or 3 states where the Congress was not powerful. Punjab and Bengal were among the 2 states where Congress was not powerful. See, when nations are governed, nations are not just governed by bureaucracy, they're also governed by political parties. You know, political parties means cadre-based parties. और जब कार्डर बेस्ड पार्टीज होती हैं तो जो पॉलिटिकल मैंडेट होती है उसको ट्रांसलेट करना आसान होता है. और यहाँ पे पहले तो कम्युनिस्ट वर आल्सो कार्डर बेस्ड, आरएसएस हैज ऑलवेज बीन अ कार्डर बेस्ड पार्टी, कांग्रेस हैज लॉस्ट हर कार्डर, एंड आई डोंट want to make a political statement here,
Sure,
but
sure.
what I'm saying is that when you have a cadre, then whatever the political leadership wants, apart from the bureaucratic process that follows, there is a cadre which is there to enforce that. Pakistan never had a strong political system in that way. And the early death of Jinnah, but even if Jinnah had survived, he had centralized all the powers himself, which was, you know, so it's got to do with the... It's got to do with the political processes. It's got to do with the fact that we had a whole leadership that was available. So if you had Nehru, you also had a Patel who was equally powerful. You had Rajendra Prasad who was, you know, very strong, very powerful. You had within the Congress, there was always a contest for presidency. So जैसे पुरुषोत्तम दास टंडन का एक व्यू था, आचार्य कृपलानी के, तो एक contest of ideas. I mean, the contest of ideas was very intense. And a country which does not have a contest of ideas is bound to have these dictatorial tendencies, you know, as you find in Pakistan. और चाइना के साथ कंपैरिजन इसलिए नहीं, बिकॉज वहां तो चुनाव हो ही नहीं कभी. So and it is the, yes, Communist Party is in power, but Communist Party is in power because there's no other option. The PLA is an organ, People's Liberation Army is an organ of the Communist Party. So it's the Communist Party which is the government, it's the Communist Party which is the army, it's the Communist Party which is the bank. So where is the comparison? So India cannot be compared to either Pakistan or to China. They have moved on their own trajectories. We have moved on our own trajectory. So I feel that our trajectory is much better. Right. Our GDP growth may be certainly less than China. We cannot deny it. They are certainly moving faster. I mean, they were moving much faster.
Now it's about 4.5 now.
But now we have sort of
7, 8.
Yeah. So now we less this term. But on the whole, we are doing better than. But we're doing better than China. But I would personally feel कि foundations, democratic foundations, अपनी हमारी काफी strong है. We have border issues, but China has even more border issues because it is not that everything
17, 18 countries that they have an issue with.
And it is not that the rule of China over Tibet is acceptable. I mean, it is there are still the problem there, problems with Mongolia, problems with Manchuria. So all countries have a little problem. I mean, there are issues there, and part of the issues are also because of very and one good thing about India is कि जो हमारी problems हैं वो तो साफ नजर आ रही है ना कि ये प्रॉब्लम्स है. कोई स्कैंडल होता है तो इतना स्कैंडल होता है उसको बढ़ाते हैं,
इंटरनेशनल न्यूज़ बन जाता है.
इट्स फाइन. बट अब जो चाइना का जो हाउसिंग कोलैप्स हुआ, as a result of it, the rural banks in China have collapsed. I mean, there is the news about that. I mean, and you know, we only revel in talking about China. में ये अच्छा, China की जो problems हैं, those are also very acute. I mean, the problem of aging in China, then an inability
population
decline, and so many other things. You see, so it's easy to be very critical of yourself. So I think on the whole, I'm very confident and very proud of the way we have evolved.
Right.
We have our problem. Right. I won't say that we couldn't have done better. We could have done much better, but it's okay.
तो सर मैं ये आपसे ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि जब पार्टीशन हुआ इंडिया और पाकिस्तान का, पाकिस्तान एक आइडियोलॉजी के तहत पैदा हुआ, टू नेशन थ्योरी जिसको बोलते हैं, कि मुस्लिम्स के लिए एक अपनी कंट्री और हिंदूज के लिए एक अलग कंट्री इंडिया. तो ये आज के सिनेरियो में क्या ये बात
सही? यश, इसको ना हमें थोड़ा हिस्टोरिकल पर्सपेक्टिव में भी देखना होगा, और ये यस नो वाला क्वेश्चन नहीं है. देखो, बात यह है कि जिन दो स्टेट्स, जो दो प्रिंसिपल स्टेट्स थी, जिसमें पंजाब और वेस्ट बंगाल, they were already Muslim majority states. Sindh was already Muslim majority. Northwest Frontier Province had a Muslim majority. तो अगर उस सेंस में देखा जाए तो जहां मुस्लिम मेजोरिटीज थी वहां पे तो सीएम या पॉलिटिकल पावर एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज के मुताबिक संभवतः मुस्लिम्स के पास ही रहती, और जहाँ पे हिंदू मेजोरिटीज थी, जहाँ पे बाकी कम्युनिटीज की मेजोरिटीज थी, तो वहाँ पे उनका बनता है। बिकॉज अगर पंजाब में यूनाइटेड पंजाब में जब पंजाब यूनाइटेड था तो पंजाब की लीडरशिप हमेशा मुस्लिम्स के पास थी। दे वर नॉट मुस्लिम्स फ्रॉम द मुस्लिम लीग, they were Muslims, but they were not Muslims from the Muslim leagues. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan was a good Muslim, but he was not a Muslim of the Muslim League. We had Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad. He was a good Muslim. In fact, one of the finest Muslims, one of the finest Muslim theologians.
Who are first.
अब एक जो समस्या रही है वो ये है कि हम किस प्रिज्म से चीजों को देखते हैं. Do we look at Muslims only as Muslims? Do we look Hindus only as Hindus? Do we look, so that's a little binary that we've created in our minds.
Right.
In fact, the leadership of the Congress was predominantly Hindu, but they were also secular. They were also secular. Similarly, you had a lot of Muslims who were secular, but the leadership of Muslim League was of those who believed in Muslim essentialism or in particularizing the Muslim. So there's a big difference there. That difference has to be kept in mind. You see, if you look at the competing mass leaders of that time, the competing mass leaders of the time included a person like Sheikh Abdullah. Sheikh Abdullah was a very popular leader of his time. Sheikh Abdullah was a person who had abandoned the Muslim conference to create the national conference. He was the person who wanted Kashmir to be part of India, not part of Pakistan. There was Khan Abdul Wali Khan. There was, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. So it is not that all Muslim leaders were in favor of one. First proposition is that all Muslim leaders were not members of Muslim League. Number two, and therefore majority of the Muslims may not have been in favor. But Muslim League as a party was also a creation of the British Empire.
Okay.
It has also got to be linked to the global geopolitics of that time. It is also linked to the fact that, a united India, or an India which had extended from, say, Afghanistan right up to Burma, would have been a very colossal power. And perhaps, and I say perhaps, I would actually feel that, it was not suiting the great game. It was not suiting the great game, because all said and done, a democratic India, an India which was, and remember also that the moorings of the Congress at that time were more towards socialism, was more towards, land redistribution, किसानों की बात, किसानों की आज़ादी, चाहे वो लाल बहादुर शास्त्री हों, चाहे वो सुभाष बोस हों, इक्वालिटी की, इगैलिटेरियनिज्म की जो बातें थी वो कांग्रेस के ब्लड स्ट्रीम में आ चुकी थी. This was antithetical to what the erstwhile, colonial powers may have wanted, and they wanted to have some control. So that control was more easily available to them in this two-nation theory than it would have been if India had remained a united empire, not a united country.
Right. So, sir, आज के सिनेरियो में देखें दैट जब हम बात करते हैं डिप्लोमेटिकली जो इश्यूज हैं, मेजर इश्यूज, सो अभी तो जैसे हो गया, वी आर नॉट इन द काइंड ऑफ talking terms with Pakistan like we should have been or should or whatever for various reasons. एक जब भी हम पाकिस्तान से बोलते हैं, their main agenda is Kashmir and everything comes on a back seat. हमारा ऐसा पॉलिसी नहीं है. We want to talk about business and all that. अभी we after the abrogation of Article 370 in August of 2019, when that happened, उन्होंने business बंद कर दिया हमारे साथ, हमने नहीं करा. तो अभी what can we look forward to when we talk about dealing with Pakistan on the basis of business, और हम क्या देख सकते हैं? Is there a positive side to it?
यश, देखो इसमें ना डिपेंड करता है कि हम किस नज़र से किसी चीज़ को देखते हैं. देखो, इन सब टेंशन्स के बावजूद भी वो करतारपुर कॉरिडोर तो फिर एक्सटेंड हुआ. इन सब बातों के बावजूद भी अभी पाकिस्तान की चीफ मिनिस्टर ने जो पाकिस्तान में देखो, पाकिस्तान में भी ना बहुत सारी लॉबीज काम कर रही हैं. ये कहना कि जैसे इंडिया में भी देयर इज नॉट, आई मीन वी आर अ डेमोक्रेसी, the government is in power, it's a popular government, and yet there will be differences of opinion, right? Everybody doesn't have the same opinion. In Pakistan, the army has a different opinion and the government has a different opinion. Pakistan army जो वहाँ की एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण institution है, it's a very strong institution in Pakistan. My teacher in Brookings Institution in Washington DC, Stephen Cohen, used to say that, countries have an army, but in Pakistan the army has a country. और अभी जो मेरे friend इकबाल मल्होत्रा की जो कुछ किताबें आई हैं, which were also discussed in the Valley of Words, Pakistan's deep state also has financial institutions to help finance this entire trade. So Pakistan army is not dependent on the Pakistan state. Pakistan army is also the biggest landlord of Pakistan. It's also the biggest entrepreneur of Pakistan. It's also a big financier of Pakistan.
What Aisha Jalal wrote in a book, the Fauji Inc., where it's $100 billion industry that Pakistan Army drive.
So therefore, when we are talking about Pakistan, देखिए जो elected leadership है पाकिस्तान की, हमेशा से, especially खास तौर पे जो this Pakistan, this Sharif family, India,
Nawaz Sharif and
Maryam Sharif and all these people, they've always had a soft corner for India, and they've always wanted better business relations. The Pakistan army and to a large extent the PPP have been very ambivalent. Bhutto has had a very different opinion. Benazir Bhutto also had a different. So let's not bracket all of Pakistan politics in one go. So there are lobbies in Pakistan which would favor improved relationship, and there are lobbies in Pakistan which survive only on account of animosity with India. Our effort should be to reach out to those who want better relationship with India while being fully prepared against any action which that lobby which has its animus to us. We have to be prepared fully. But even while we are being fully prepared, we must extend an olive branch to those who would like to be friends with us.
Right. So this being one, sir, now अभी political spectrum में ये काफी बातें चल रही हैं कि Pakistan is not a threat, Pakistan is not the competition, China is. अभी China हमारा border clash भी हुआ था few years back in Galwan and all of that. कोई लोग बोल रहे हैं कि ऑक्यूपाई करा है लैंड, किसी ने बोला है कि ऑक्यूपाई नहीं कर रहा है लैंड.
वो हमें कुछ चीजें हिस्टोरिकली भी समझनी चाहिए, कुछ कंटेम्प्रेरी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में भी समझनी चाहिए. देखिए अभी लास्ट जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर जब गए थे रशिया फॉर द ब्रिक्स समिट, तो कजान में वी आर ट्राइंग टू डी एस्केलेट द टेंशन विद चाइना, व्हिच इज अ वेरी गुड थिंग, because let us also understand that China and India are also very good trading partners. We are also very strong trading partners. ये जो issue है, this has been disputed not from today. This has been an issue dispute from I would say from centuries, because जब Treaty of Chushul sign हुई थी 1842 में between Zorawar Singh from the side of the Maharaja of Gulab Singh, Maharaja, I forget the name, most probably Gulab Singh, and the representative of the Lama Guru. So that treaty is a very generic treaty that we respect each other's territory, we respect each other's rights, and this, but that was never defined. So 1842 से ये चलता आ रहा है. फिर वो 1842 से फिर वो कई लाइन्स आई. लास्ट शिमला एग्रीमेंट हुआ 1914 में, जब वो मैकमोहन जब फॉरेन मिनिस्टर थे, तो उसमें भी चाइनीज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ने तो उस पर साइन नहीं किया. इट वाज साइन बिटवीन द टिबेटन गवर्नमेंट एंड द ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट इन इंडिया. तो इस पे डिस्प्यूट रहा है, हमेशा से डिस्प्यूट रहा है, और इसको एक्सेप्ट कर लेना चाहिए कि इट हैज बीन एन एरिया इन विच, लेट्स नॉट यूज द वर्ड, लेट्स से दैट इंटरप्रिटेशंस हैव वेरी. लेकिन अब जो इसका इकोलॉजिकल कॉन्सिक्वेंस दोनों देशों को देखना होगा कि जो मैंने पिछले महीने लिखा था आर्टिकल एक ऑन डेप्सोंग एंड डेमचौक. अब डेमचौक जो है उसमें there are 78 people on the Indian side and 171 people on the Chinese side, and there are 80,000 troops on this side, and I'm sure equal number of troops on that side.
Correct.
It's a barren plain. So these are all areas in which there are different interpretations, and there are ways to handle it, just as we handle Teen Biga. There are ways.
But what is the right assessment? Because majorly सब confused है. मतलब see at the I am a commoner. जब मेरे पे न्यूज आती है कि हमारा लैंड ऑक्यूपाई कर लिया है, कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी बोलती है ऑक्यूपाई नहीं करा है,
देखो
व्हाट इज, मैं उस पर्सपेक्टिव से जानना चाहता हूँ कि मेरे को सच जानना है, सच क्या है?
सच जानना है तो बड़ा बड़ा मुश्किल सवाल आपने पूछा कि सच क्या है. इट इज नॉट सो सिंपल सच क्या है. लेकिन आज हमारे पास नक्शा नहीं है, लेकिन 1947 का जो नक्शा है भारत का, पब्लिश बाय द सर्वेयर जनरल ऑफ इंडिया, उसमें जो वो एरिया ना, इट सेज एरिया अनडिमार्केटेड. That area was not demarcated, and that area has not really been demarcated on both sides. मतलब डिमार्केशन तो तब है ना कि अगर दोनों लोग मिलकर गए कि ठीक है अब हम मान जाते हैं इस बात को. So it's a matter of, and it's a खाली एरिया. It's actually वो not a blade of grass grows there. और वो हमारे देहरादून के एमपी थे जिन्होंने नेहरू जी को कहा था नॉट अ ब्लेड ऑफ ग्रास ग्रोज हियर. ने सिर को दिखाया बड़ा इसमें. बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट द फैक्ट इज कि ये इंटरप्रिटेशन का सवाल है. अब वो अभी आर्मी चीफ ने भी कहा, सीडीएस ने भी कहा कुछ दिन पहले, वो एक मीटिंग थी आईएसी में, तो इसे पे देखो उनके नक्शे में कुछ और दिखाते हैं, हमारे नक्शे में कुछ और दिखाते हैं. एंड जैसे अरुणाचल हमारे ऑक्यूपेशन में है, द होल ऑफ अरुणाचल इज अंडर आवर ऑक्यूपेशन, तवांग वैली इज अंडर आवर ऑक्यूपेशन, बट इट इज शोन China does not show it as Arunachal.
They've renamed it, I believe.
They've renamed it, right? And they do not give visas to people from Arunachal. ठीक है, वो हमारे कब्जे में है लेकिन उनके नक्शे में. इसी तरह स्काई चेन हमारे नक्शे में है लेकिन उनके कब्जे में है. तो इट इज नॉट दैट चाइना has done कि चाइना ही अपना दिमाग लड़ा रहा, हम भी अपना दिमाग लड़ा रहे. तो it's a battle of wits.
It's fair game.
It's a fair game, but I think we should have a realistic assessment कि जिस एरिया पे, इनफैक्ट our point with China should be कि जिस एरिया पे आपका फिजिकल कब्जा नहीं है वो आप हमें दे दो. जिस एरिया पे हमारा फिजिकल कब्जा नहीं है उसको हम सेटल कर लेते हैं. Because possession is 99% of ownership.
Right.
I mean, what is the point of owning a place which you can't occupy?
Right.
And when there is such a conflict and there is a nuclear army on both sides, and India is not a walkover state, right? 62 एक अलग जमाना था जब they came, they saw and they conquered. It's not the same thing now, because in 67 we gave a drubbing to China. After Galwan we gave a drubbing to China. So it's not so easy. So both are fully prepared for any eventuality.
Right, sir. Sir, अभी इलेक्शंस हुए हैं यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में, एंड Donald Trump is the president elect. Is it good for us? Is it bad for us? ज़्यादा changes नहीं होंगे Biden administration in terms of policy changes में, because Trump tariffs की बात करें कि he'll put tariff on China, India, Russia and all of 25% tariff.
उन्होंने कहा है कि अगर हम अपनी करेंसी बनाएंगे तब वो 100% टैरिफ.
नहीं, उनसे पहले भी करेंसी को उन्होंने अभी बोला है, बट उनसे पहले भी जैसे कि ट्रेड इम्बैलेंस है और अमेरिका फर्स्ट, जिसको वो बोलते हैं मेक अमेरिका ग्रेट अगेन. सो ही वांट्स टू प्रायोरिटाइज America first.
So if that be the scenario, then it is China which should be worried more than we should be, because the trade deficit vis-a-vis China is much higher, right? And given the composition of his cabinet with a lot of Indians being
Vivek Ramaswamy and Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel.
Yeah, so I think and I don't see too many people of Chinese origin in his closest.
Correct.
So if that be the scenario.
But the only thing,
and let me also put it like this: that India has had a good working relationship with most American presidents. In fact, in the last 10-15 years, as you would have noticed, President Modi has been able to reach out to all of them. He's been able to reach out to Obama. He was able to reach out to Bush. Yeah, sorry, not Bush, Trump. And he was Biden ko. In fact, he addressed Biden as Drishta Sahasra Chandra. Drishta Sahasra Chandra.
What's that?
That means a person who has seen 1,000 moons.
Drishta, a person who's seen
1,000 moons.
Moons, okay.
Now that happens.
So
that happens when you complete 80 years and 8 months.
Acha, 80 years and 8 months.
When you complete 80 years and 8 months, this means you've lived 1,000 months. This means you've seen 1,000 moons. So this is how he had addressed him, and he had given him a an original copy of Gitanjali, the translation. So they had in fact, international politics is also about the personal equation which the leaders develop. So I think that because the personal equation of a prime minister is pretty good.
Right.
And even America realizes that, in order to counterbalance China, they need India. And you must also know that, whatever Trump may have said, he has not said anything against Quad. He's in fact a greater supporter of Quad. So if you look at it in that perspective, in that sense, it's okay. I mean, aisa kuch nahi hai. There is nothing to feel unduly concerned or unduly worried. In fact, we have to be more worried about what's happening in Canada.
Right, I was just about to come to that.
So that is an issue of greater concern. USA के साथ ठीक.
But with now that you've mentioned Canada, sir, Canada में भी बहुत ही important question ये भी है, जैसे elections are due in Canada next year in September. And their opposition leader Polly Poilievre is presumably going to become the next prime minister of Canada. सर, और ये जो हमारा अभी जो with regards to खालिस्तान चल रहा है, with so many politicians, उनके ही पार्लियामेंट में naming one Mr. Jagmeet Singh, who heads the NDP in Canada, वो है, टिम ओपल है, काफ़ी और खालिस्तानी सपोर्टर्स हैं उनके पार्लियामेंट में. नेक्स्ट ईयर अगर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन चेंज हुई, आपको लगता है ये जो बैकलैश मिल रहा है, ये खालिस्तानी जो इतना राउडी बिहेव कर रहे हैं विद हिंदूज एंड अदर इंडियन स्पेसिफिकली, सो कुछ चेंज होगा नेक्स्ट ईयर में, हम देख रहे हैं, या ऐसे ही चलेगा?
I cannot comment on this because I'm not following the politics of Canada with that. But I'm just back from a visit to Punjab. And I must say that ये पंजाब में तो ऐसा कोई इशू मुझे नजर नहीं आया. जहाँ तक कनाडा की बात है, वो ये है कि ट्रूडो is under tremendous pressure. Tremendous pressure, and that's why he's doing half the thing that he's doing. But recently, he's also, I mean, their own government has also said that there's not much evidence that has been there. And you see, you can propagate something for some time, some more time, but at the end of the day, some evidence will have to be created, some evidence will have to be generated. और वो मुझे नहीं लगता होगा. And see, at the base level, what has happened is that this has arrested the movement of Punjabi youth to Canada and to Australia. And I think in the long run, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing because the youth of Punjab must stay. I mean, if we can find opportunities in Punjab, it'll be better. So ये जो massive जो एक flush था, migration का जो जाने की इच्छा थी, that to that extent has become less. A lot of kids are coming back also. So I think it's a good thing. In the very long run, it's better that, the craze for Canada comes down.
तो अभी आगे सर, you've just come back from पंजाब, आपको क्या लगता है कि वहाँ की यूथ का इतना क्या माइंडसेट है कि सोचते हैं कि हम अब्रॉड जाएंगे, अब्रॉड भी हम कनाडा देश से हम कनाडा जाएंगे, एंड देयर आर सो मेनी विलेजेस एंड स्मॉल टाउन्स व्हिच हैव बीन अबैंडन्ड बिकॉज पहले क्या होता था, नेबर्स होते थे, किसी के अब नेबर्स नहीं बचे, वो सभी चले गए कनाडा. सो
वो एक क्रेसेंडो हो गया था ना. नाउ दैट क्रेसेंडो इज गेटिंग रिवर्स्ड. You reach a certain stage and after that it ceases to be that thing. And now that they have gone there, they've seen how difficult it is. And things in Punjab have also improved. I mean, it is not that India is not doing well. You see, ये जो migration जब होती है, migration क्यों होती है? माइग्रेशन तब होती है जब जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज कम होती हैं, यहाँ कम होती हैं, बाहर ज्यादा होती हैं. See, and you find it in Uttarakhand also. I mean, we are facing this problem. I won't call it a problem. A problem,
but a concern. It's like
concern, yes. But then the fact is, then there has been migration from the hills of Uttarakhand to here. There's been a migration. I mean, all over this country, there is a movement away from the villages to the urban areas. That is why urbanization is happening in this country.
Correct.
And this is a concern everywhere. And so there are ways to address this also. But our main question was about I'm sorry. I forgot.
The question is why so many Punjabis from Punjab obsessed
Yes.
about going to
Yes,
Canada?
they were very obsessed. But now, as India's growth rate, as this is stabilizing, and as their growth rates are coming down, and as more and more restrictions are being put there, as more and more educational institutions are coming up in Punjab, a lot of things are. So it's this trend will not be reversed.
Do you think a reverse immigration is possible?
Reverse immigration, ani shuru ho gayi hai. I mean, the trickle has started. You see, we used to have about 2 million students going abroad every year from India.
Right.
Now it's about 1.3 lakhs.
It's come down.
So it's come down, right? So it's about 13 lakhs. So,
Yeah.
so ये फर्क तो पड़ा. This means that, so number of students wanting to go abroad is becoming less. And now as more and more education institutions, more and more research labs come up, if we can set up, business corridors, medical cities in Punjab, then perhaps this thing will can get, we may be able to address this issue as well. It's not going to be so easy, but it's a mindset change that will happen.
Right, sir. Sir, Abhi,
One of the things, Yash, is you see that as the average age of a politician will go down, you'll find a change. You see, because the politicians who are today in their 70s or the late 60s, they are still used to looking at India from that domain. But when you find politicians who are now in their 30s or 40s, and very soon you'll have millennials in the leadership positions. I mean, their whole outlook is different.
Yeah, outlook is different.
The whole outlook is different. The main concerns are different. So when those concerns are different, the issues that will be raised, that will also become different.
Right, correct, sir. So we're in a very precarious situation, like globally, from a global point of view also. अभी दो major wars चल रही हैं, Israel Palestine and Russia Ukraine. Let's talk about Russia Ukraine first. It's been almost 3 years since the start of the war. Abhi Putin had tested their first ICBM, without the nukes, of course. And अभी Biden has started थोड़ा सा aggressive posturing करना start कर दिया है. They tried to back Ukraine just before he leaves office, all of that. So is it a deliberate effort?
It is deliberate, and I would also say to some extent irresponsible, because when the mandate is not with you.
Yeah, it's almost a month then you...
So mandate is, you have been rejected. Once you've been rejected, and irrespective of whether Trump is right or Trump is wrong, the fact is that the electoral mandate is not with Mr. Biden. The electoral mandate is shifted to Trump. Therefore, it's a lame duck government. And in a lame duck government, you are only supposed to run the government. You're not supposed to take major decisions, which I think is wrong. Therefore, I am not saying Trump is right. I'm not saying Trump is wrong. What I am saying is that Biden's position at this point of time is not very legit. And he spoiled his own case by partnering, by forgiving Hunter and by giving all these things. He made a mockery of the whole thing, right?
Right. So on that, sir, sorry to cut you short. I want to understand, if he was such a weak president, a weak player, who was running the government? Was it the deep state?
See, we use the word deep state.
For the benefit of our viewers, can you just explain, sir, exactly क्या है ये deep state? Every country has it, or is it just a propaganda jargon that people, policymakers have come up with?
It's a bit of both. Bit of both. A deep state would refer to those permanent elements, those permanent features of a state which are not dependent on what the elected leadership is at that point of time, right? The deep state would, to some extent, include the bureaucracy, it include the IB, it include the RAW, it include the defense establishment, the atomic energy establishment, all these things. I mean, the Indian Army will remain a very, very strong force. And the Indian Air Force will remain a very strong force. I mean, the bureaucracy will remain, irrespective of who's the Prime Minister. Therefore, the Pentagon and the defense establishment, the CIA, the FBI, those will remain, right? And there is a role which they have. That role cannot be denied. That role is much more in states like Pakistan, where the elected leadership is weak. Let me put it like this. The deep state is in worse relationship with the elected democracy. If the elected democracy is powerful, if the elected political space is more powerful, then it will be less. There'll certain institutions, there'll be certain things about America which will not change whether it is the Democrats or the
Republicans.
Right. But the fact is that there has been a difference of emphasis. That difference of emphasis is certainly there, whether it's on climate change or it's on funding the NATO. These differences between Republicans and Democrats are there. And yet there are, even when it came to climate change and various things, America never paid up. Na? Payment to nahi kiya.
Correct.
Verbal commitment diya, lekin payment to nahi kiya.
Correct.
Right? So it's a question of degrees. So let me not, I won't say that the world will suddenly change. But yes, there will be a difference of emphasis. There will be a difference of focus. That thing will कुछ तो फर्क पड़ेगा. फर्क पड़ेगा.
Right. So.
But जैसे वो NATO का जो expansion जो ये Democrats चला रहे थे. That is
reaching the Russian border. तो conflict वहीं से start हुआ है.
And that is, if you go back, that is going back on what was promised to Gorbachev. Right. So it was promised to Gorbachev just because Russia became. It was perceived that Russia is weak. So it happened. But and as for the second is concerned, I am quite hopeful for a truce happening, because already Lebanon के साथ हो गया है, Hezbollah के साथ ये बात चल रही है.
Right.
So I'm optimistic on that. A lot of my friends who are realists in foreign policy, they believe it won't happen. But I have a feeling that बहुत होगी लड़ाई वहाँ पे भी. I think that there is scope for settlement.
There is scope for settlement. So. Again, we have so much support globally coming for the Palestinians, and there's the Israel and the Jewish lobby working in the United States. Arguably the strongest lobby. Please correct me if I'm wrong, sir. Jewish lobby has been asking the American government for giving them more arms, more funding for the war and all of that. What do you think India's role is? Because मैं सर इसलिए आपसे ये पूछ रहा हूँ, बैच हम भी इसराइल को we supported two-state solution.
We have played the best possible cards. We have exercised moderation. We have short of condemning Israel outright, but we have supported the truce proposals. We have done what a country of our size and our stature should have done. We could not have done more than what we have done. And let us also realize that we are not an interventionist nation like America is, and it is not in our immediate neighborhood, right? We also have to look at the improved relations that we are now having with the nation in the Gulf, with UAE, with Qatar, with Saudi Arabia, with Jordan. So we have a very good and a friendly relationship with them also. We have a lot of our expatriates working there. We have a lot of business happening there. So we have balanced. And I think it's a fair degree of balance that this government has been able to maintain.
Right. So we just before we wind up, I would just want to ask you, with regards to the new generation coming now, who want to get the exams for the civil services and want to join the Indian foreign services and all, want to become a diplomat at some point in time, or in the administrative services. What would your advice be to them in terms of what to look forward to and how to prepare, and if things don't go the way they probably would want it to go to, and if they are not able to get into the services, what should they do with their lives, and how should they pep themselves up?
See, my suggestion would be that they should first pick up a job, and they should be economically independent. Because there's a lot of pressure when you are preparing and you're dependent on your parents for your monthly stipend. I would say that the first thing which young people should do after their graduation or the post-graduation is to pick up a job where they start earning enough for themselves and for their preparation. Let them work for 2 years, say for 1 year, be sure that they can get another job. It is not a job opening, right? It's a It's a
competition where with there are limited seats.
It's a limited seat. So if you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, if you're a journalist, if you're a teacher, if you've done your master's and your PhD, clear your NET exam first. Join a college and then take the exam. To whatever you do, maybe you can take a year off and take the exam. But more after a year, pick up another assignment, pick up a job, and then prepare for the exam, because then you are more confident. Then you are more confident, I mean, I was also a journalist. I was working in the Times of India when I took this exam. Therefore, it was with a great degree of confidence that, all right, if you get it, it's very good. But if you don't get it, you are not on the road. It's very important to be not on the road when you are taking this exam.
Correct. Right.
If you're on the road, dependent totally on your parents, and think that this is the only thing that is there in life, then there's a problem. There are many things in life. This is amongst the better things in life, but there are other things in life as well. So you have to focus on, you have to, be confident about yourself, and having one secure job in your hand or one secure training in your hand, and then taking the exam is a far better option. Because whatever you're doing, and especially many of the things that you're doing, if you're a journalist, if you're a teacher, or if you're a professor, or if you're doing tuitions, or if you're teaching in a coaching center, or doing many things, your preparation can go on simultaneously, Right. So, and you can always take 2 to 3 months off to prepare.
So at least have a backup.
Have a backup plan. A backup plan is very, very important. I mean, take the jump, but have a parachute.
Right, parachute. Well said, sir. So before we wind this up, do you have any questions for me?
Well, I would say best of luck.
Best
of luck, because, these are new things. At our times, we could not have thought of, leaving a secure job and, venturing into podcasts, venturing into this. So this is the new domain. I mean, this is the domain of ideas. Right. And I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much.
And my new book is coming on Lal Bahadur Shastri.
Right.
So maybe next time we'll talk about that.
No, I'll make sure that...
next time we'll talk only about books. Because this time you asked me things which you wanted to ask. The next podcast, to my mind...
My pleasure, sir. What do you want to ask?
No, what I want to discuss. What I want to discuss is some of the best books that have been written this year. We've had some lovely books that have been written. So I'd like to do a podcast on books. Perfect. And how do books impact you? And what do we learn from the world of books? How do authors write? What are the different genres? How is fiction created? How is non-fiction created? Whether we can create binaries between fiction and non-fiction. Autobiographies, biographies, books that have influenced us. So maybe something on those.
Yes, next time I think we should do a podcast on proper literature and like how people because now it's what's happened, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever however you may want to put this, a lot of people have started just consuming AV, audiovisual content, and stopped reading. That has come down considerably from what it used to be about 10, 15, 20, 30 years back, when the blow up of internet didn't happen.
No, let me put it like this. You see that the readership of books has remained almost constant.
Okay.
But the viewership of audios, that has gone up substantially.
Yeah.
So the sale of books has not gone down. The number of books that are being printed has not, in fact, that has increased. What has happened is that the WhatsApps and the YouTube channels and the other thing. So for instance, if let's say if 8 to 10,000 people have read my book, many more have heard about that book. Many more have had discussion on that book. But even 10 years earlier, at least these many books, I mean, this readership would have still been there, and this readership will continue. So I think that this is a new medium. This medium, no medium can replace a medium.
Right.
There are always additional mediums that come and that help. So that's my view.
But on that note,
you see, like for instance, so many pizzas and so many donuts and so many other things have come up, but barfi and kalakan and samosa cannot be replaced.
Normal dal chawal cannot be.
So that basics will remain, and many more things will start happening. Many more things will start happening.
Great.
So Thank you.
Perfect, sir. It was wonderful, and I would like to graciously want to say thank you once again, sir. You took out time from your very, very busy schedule for this riveting conversation. It's been a pleasure. I hope we can have this conversation again with you as per your convenience, whenever it's feasible.
Certainly. We'll as soon as this Shastri book gets the format, as soon as the cover page comes out, we'll come and do a discussion.
Perfect. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Pleasure, sir. Thank you so much. तो गाइज, अगर आप चाहते हैं कि हमारी एक और कॉन्वर्सेशन हो डॉक्टर संजीव चोपड़ा के साथ विद रिगार्ड्स टू नई बुक्स, लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल के बारे में बात करना चाहते हैं, वैल्यू ऑफ वर्ड्स के बारे में बात करना चाहते हैं, तो प्लीज डू मेंशन इन द कमेंट्स बिलो. आई होप यू लाइक द कॉन्वर्सेशन. हमने बहुत सारी चीजें कवर करी, रेंजिंग फ्रॉम ब्यूरोक्रेटिक पॉलिसी मेकिंग से लेके इंडिया, पाकिस्तान, रशिया, यूक्रेन वॉर और पैलेस्टाइन और इजरायली वॉर से लेके हमने काफी सारी चीजें कवर करी हैं. होप यू लव द पॉडकास्ट. प्लीज डू लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू द पॉडकास्ट. और इसी पॉडकास्ट की तरह आपको और भी वीडियोस मिलेंगी. प्लीज फॉलो करिए. थैंक यू.